Hey there, it's Brooks with Grace Cart, and in this episode, Blaine and I were able to have a fascinating interview with Will Harris from White Oaks Pastures. This is the ranch that's famously known for having over 100,000 beating hearts all out on pasture. And there's really nobody I know of in the farm to fork world who's doing it at this scale. And it's vertically integrated. So from production to USDA processing, they have their own on-farm store, restaurant, and a growing agritourism business. And we've known Will for a while and have just kind of always been curious about how he's been able to scale this and manage it all, so many different moving parts. So we decided to have him come on for an interview to share the ins and outs of the business for our benefit and for your benefit. So in this episode, we talk about where they market their products, their recent e-commerce growth, and we even get in a little bit into how they've been able to use the press and their agritourism business to tell their story and build strong relationships with their customers. So this one's really value packed. If you're new to the show, we release content like this every other week, specifically for perishable food sellers who are looking to grow and scale their business online. So if you want to catch more content, be sure to subscribe and feel free to send me an email at brooks@gracecart.com. You know, there's really not a support network for perishable e-commerce businesses out there. So I'd love to hear how you found out about us, or just to say hi and welcome you to the community. And with that, this is the intro. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Will and the interview. I hope you guys enjoy. You're listening to Gray's Cast, a show that shares the secrets to selling perishable food products online. The show and advice is brought to you by the team at Seven Sons, which is an 8-figure e-commerce business that started completely from scratch. Each episode, we bring you one topic, 3 strategies, and one tangible resource to continue your learning and put you on the fast track in your own e-commerce journey. Let's begin. All right, so Will, welcome to the show. It's since COVID, we haven't really crossed paths at conferences or any events in a while. So Blaine and I are really excited to connect, and we appreciate you agreeing to come on to do this.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be on with you fellows today.
Yeah, you know, we've talked for, I know there's kind of been some dialogue between all of us that, you know, our businesses should spend more time collaborating together, sharing ideas, but you're a very busy person, we're busy, and we've never really been able to make that happen. Then Blaine and I got talking, well, hey, we set aside every Thursday pretty much to record these podcast episodes. Why don't we just get Will on, hit record, and then let everyone else kind of listen in on the networking discussion and get value from it. So that's what we're here to do today, and we're pretty excited about it.
Well, I am too. You know, it's a shame for us to be trying to invent the wheel in Georgia and you inventing the same wheel in Indiana and Gabe Brown inventing the same wheel in North Dakota. Yeah, we should be smart enough to learn from each other.
Yep. So, Will, obviously you guys run an impressive operation. Today we're talking to really food suppliers, farmers, folks who are selling online, who most of them will have a good idea of what you guys are doing and really admire your guys' operation. But for that percentage of folks who have never heard the story, can you just start off by giving us the 2-minute overview of White Oak Pastures, where you guys started, and what things look like today?
Sure. So White Oak Pastures is our family farm in Bluffton, Georgia. My great-grandfather came here in 1866 and farmed the land. His son, my grandfather, farmed the land. His son, my father, farmed it. I am farming it. I have 2 daughters who have returned to the farm, are helping me, along with their 2 spouses and 2 other non-family members of the 7 directors that run it. We supervise about 26 managers who supervise about 150 other employees. So we're about 180, over 180 strong. We're the largest private employer in the county, which is kind of like being the tallest building in Kansas. I mean, it's a very economically deprived county, but we're proud to offer jobs, have good people. We pasture raise cows, hogs, sheep, goats, rabbits, hand butcher them in a red meat slaughter facility that I built on the farm. We pasture raise chickens, turkeys, geese, guineas, and ducks, and hand butcher them in a separate USDA inspected slaughter facility that we built. We raise pastured eggs, organic vegetables, honey, a number of other small little ancillary businesses that the farm supports. That's what we do is actually much more similar to what my great grandfather and grandfather did than it is to what my father and I did later, post World War II. So that's kind of the most interesting part for me.
Yep. So very, very, very vertically integrated. Sounds like you guys got a little bit, your hands on a little bit of everything. Can you tell us, if I'm a customer, how do I get access to your guys' products then? What does the marketing side look like for you?
So we built this as a wholesale business. I sold Whole Foods Market the first pound of grass-fed beef that they marketed as American grass-fed beef way back in the very early 2000s, 20 years ago. And Publix was an early customer, Public supermarkets with ground beef. And they know those were really my only two customers for a long time. Two customers and two products, grass-fed ground beef and grass-fed whole carcasses. Uh, we have evolved that. We picked up other wholesale customers and both on food service and grocery side. And that was a good business for us. We did well, probably in 2015 or so. That market became less and less profitable for us. So mostly big multinational companies came in and recognized our little niche might be a good one and started filling it mostly with imported products. So we moved into online and just doing order fulfillment here on the farm. Didn't really know what we were doing, just struggling through it. When the pandemic panic hit a little over a year ago, it really kicked that up into high gear. And of course, it slowed way down from that, but it's still probably twice as much as it was before the pandemic. The ratio of wholesale to direct customer sales has increased dramatically on the retail side.
Do you mind commenting, Will, how much of your business is wholesale versus online versus people even that come to the farm? Because I know you have a farm store there as well, Will.
We have a farm store and a restaurant, and that would probably be 5% of our business. The online would probably be 30%, maybe 40% now. It's still increasing. And the rest of it, the wholesale to food service and grocery.
Yep. So a lot of growth online. And when did you say you guys started doing the online, the e-commerce?
I think it was 2015 that we really started struggling with our wholesale accounts. And we started then, but we started, very gradually. I've seen that you fellows have built a very nice oil fulfillment center. Ours is still pretty cowboy. It's 6 containers, Sub-Zero containers, and picked and packed out of that.
Yep.
So, Will, how do you guys? So you've been online for about the last 5 years. Your wholesale business grew. You had a nice little niche, and we started our business around the same time, early 2000s. And at that point, if you just sold grass-fed beef and pasture-raised proteins, that made you a niche. No matter what, no matter where you are, you were a niche. The commodity system had no adaptations at that point. Obviously, listening to you talk about the kind of how noisy the wholesale market got, we experienced the same thing by 2015. What are you seeing online? How are you guys dealing with some of the noise that's happening online? I mean, there's a lot of folks selling grass-fed beef, pasture-raised proteins online, and some of those companies are using some of the same tactics that the companies that came into the wholesale markets use, as far as importing, driving, costs down, and creating a lot of margin. For the wholesale market, Will, I think they're able to drive the cost down for some of these big retailers. They came in and undercut some of us. what we're seeing online is that some big aggressive marketing companies are cutting their cost and able to create massive advertising acquisition dollars. How do you guys combat that? Do you feel some of that?
We're seeing the same thing, Blaine, and it's taking its toll on us. There's no secret. Our business is not doing as well as it was doing in 2015. Simply stated, just not. Financials will verify that. And it's because it's our product is better today than it was. Our people are better today than they were. Our systems are better today. Our facilities are better. Everything's better. It's just that the market is crowded. And I don't consider people like y'all and Greg Gumthorpe and Reynolds Beef. I don't consider y'all to be my competition. We're all foot soldiers in the same campaign. The competition is these big multinational companies that greenwash their product. And greenwashing may wind up destroying this movement. I hope not, but it might. I could see it happening. It's certainly taken its toll. But to answer your question, the only shield and sword that we have to combat these big budget greenwashers is authenticity and transparency. We just got through building an RV park, 24-unit RV park, so people could come see us. And we've got 8 or 10 cabins on the farm that we've operated for, 5 years, so people could come see us. And when people come see us, we show them everything we got, from the kill floor to where we farrow the pigs, where we brood the chicks. Everything's fair game. And that is the kind of transparency that I don't think these other people can offer. And the authenticity is what it is. So, if that doesn't work, then this probably a short run at rebuilding the food supply. And what we've got over those people is resilience. The big food companies have made food production very linear, where as a function of nature, it was meant to be very cyclical. And a linear system can be scaled up, an incredible amount of cost taken out of it. But the more it's scaled up, the more fragile and vulnerable it becomes. And I think we saw that during the pandemic, and I think we saw it during the recent hacking, and I think we'll see it with civil unrest. And I'm not confident that we're going to be successful. I hope we are. I got three grandbabies live on this farm, and I hope they'll be able to have the opportunity that my daughters and I did. But I'm certainly not sure of it. But I'll take my chances with resilience versus their scaled up efficiencies.
We definitely, everyone saw that during the pandemic when there's folks panicking and it didn't take more than 3 days and the shelves were empty in the store. And contrast that, so this is a resilience point you made, contrast that with here at Seven Sons, and I'm sure with the same way with you guys, not only do we have weeks or months worth of inventory ready to ship, but we also have months worth of inventory on 4 legs out in the pasture. So that's
very secure.
That's secure resilience, and that's a value proposition that we can offer our customers. And we talk about the same thing, Will, that our story, the authenticity, is what will truly Amazon, any of the other companies, big companies out there, they can't begin to compete with the authenticity that White Oak Pastures, Seven Sons, and so many others out there can offer. But at the same time, and I'm sure you guys have found, we still have to make it convenient for busy consumers, that are trying to live their lives, and which is what you guys are doing. You guys are shipping it online, and there's been such an opportunity there. So
and with trust and authenticity, you guys trying to use that as, obviously your differentiator. You talk about some of the strategies that you guys are implementing with getting people out to the farm to, see exactly what you do with their own eyes, from the rental cabins. I think I saw on your guys' website you do some workshops. But I know a question that we get from a lot of our listeners and clients is, okay, so that's great in that one-on-one setting, but as we start to do e-commerce and we're trying to ship our products to customers' homes, how do we try to recreate that experience online? Can you talk about some of the strategies that you guys are doing? Because I think one thing I think I've noticed that you guys do a really good job at is PR. You guys have been featured on, CNN. You go to your press page on the website, and almost everybody's on there. Has that been a major strategy that you guys have been able to implement to help, tell that story, the trust and authenticity to people remotely?
Well, you just asked a PR question to a 66-year-old cowboy who has a very old degree in animal science from the College of Agriculture at the University of Georgia, where I was a C student. So I'm not your best. Source on PR. I'll say in our case, you mentioned we've been written about a lot, and I think we have. And that came from the fact that we were very early at this party. I I was a very industrial cattleman. I used to run a feedlot. I used all the tools. In about 95, which is earlier than most, we started transitioning. So when a writer or a reporter or a videographer wanted to film some, at that time, early on, it was high animal welfare. Later on, it became rural enrichment. Now it's regenerative land management. If they Googled much, we would come up. And we've never hired a publicist or a PR person, but when someone contacts us and says they want to come here and do an article or a film, we are just super accommodating. The answer is yes, ma'am, or sir. You come right on. What do you want to do? What do you want to see? So I think that has allowed us to have a lot of press in the past, which we're very grateful for. Never bought any, never recruited it, but we're always glad to get it. To speak to what I thought you meant going, it's true that we kind of we lead out with "come see us." That's where we do good. When you come see us, very few people I think are not satisfied that we are what we portray ourselves as being. But as we do business further and further from Bluffton, Georgia, less and less people are going to come to see us. And I hope that's mitigated by the fact that they know they could come see us if they wanted to. And I bet you somewhere on this farm, there's a dozen or more people right now kicking and sniffing and poking and prodding. And, anybody can come and look. I feel a little sorry for consumers. Consumers, they're busy people. They don't, they got a lot going on in their lives. How much time do they have to spend learning about their food? And as you know, the labels are hopelessly misleading, intentionally, I'll say misleading. The advertisements are slick and done by professionals that get paid a lot of money to know how to talk about stuff. There are charlatans out there. The certifications, which is what I thought was going to be our salvation. There's so many of them, and they range from super low-hanging fruit that are meaningless to some really good ones, and the consumer's confused about what shade of gray they're getting from Snow White to Smut Black. So the only way a consumer can really know he's getting what he or she thinks they're getting is to know something about their farmer. And luckily with social media and these things, they don't have to come to Bluffton, Georgia and smell the smells and feel the heat and humidity and insects and reptiles.
Yeah, I want to back up, Will, to something you commented on, because I don't think it's, especially some of our listeners that are farms, we're all very busy people. We have lots going on, but I just want to emphasize what you said, Will, is when someone calls, and I have to remind myself, it's good for me to hear you say this, because when someone calls, they want to stop and they want to do an interview, they want to do a TV piece. My natural response, Will, is, man, I got a lot going on. But you guys have consistently said yes. Let's accommodate you and on your schedule. I think that's important to have that mindset. And I think, when you Google White Oak Pastures, you guys have great organic search listings. And as Brooks and I have studied SEO over the years, you just can't buy that. You have to have had many news pieces done on that name, White Oak Pastures, and that's an incredible asset that you guys have built. But it's taken 20 years of saying yes. You can come on my farm. I'm not afraid to show you around, and I'm going to prioritize giving you time. So that's commendable, and it's good to see that. So
I do feel your pain about people coming, and we are gracious Southerners here. I realize I'm talking to a couple of Yankee boys, but we are gracious Southerners here. And we want to be nice to you. We want you to be nice to us. And that's just the way we live our lives. And we would have people come here and they walk in and say, hi, I'm Jane, and I buy your grass-fed beef at Publix or Whole Foods every week and have for years. And I'm on my way to the beach, and I just want to stop and see what you do here. And we all look at each other, and I say, I got to go move some cattle. I can't do it. And Jimmy said, I need to invoice these stuff we shipped yesterday. And Brian said, I got a meat cutter out. And we look at each other to somebody with a weed cut and say, okay, I got it. But we always did. We always tried to accommodate them. And then as that increased, we made investments in people and facilities to accommodate them. And we built a store. Well, we renovated a store here in Bluffton. Bluffton, Georgia is in the middle of my farm. It's just right in the middle of it. We renovated a store that was built in 1870 something. And when we did, we spent, it's like everything else, spend more money on it than you intend to. And I told, when we were deciding to do it, I said, this thing's going to bleed money every month in perpetuity. Maybe it'll seep and not hemorrhage, but we're going to do it because we want to have a place for people to come and have something they were expecting to see, not the middle of a pasture or a slaughter plant. So it fast forward, it's made a little bit of money 2 weeks in a row. It's lost money every month for the last 5 years, how long we've had it. And it just made money. And when I say made money, I think it was $1,200 one month and $800 the next. It's important to us that we make ourselves available to show. We're proud of what we do, just like y'all. We are fiercely proud of what we do in our program. I want to show it to folks.
Yep.
But it's just how many can you load up in the Jeep 3 at a time and ride around? Now, so it's not but 3.
Well, you guys know the value of doing, the things that feel right, that you can't necessarily measure and put value to on paper, because we talk about the same thing. We do a farm festival. It's 1 day a year out on the farm. Usually we get about 1,000 people out or so. And it's quite an investment for us to put on that event because we're not charging anyone to come out. And on paper, it does not look like a profitable ordeal for us at all. But we know that when we have that event, we get a lot of local people out, but then we're also recording a video about the event, the farm tours and just the activities of the day. And we're making sure we're putting that out on social media. It's going out on our newsletter because we want everyone to know, no matter where you live and you've heard about Seven Sons, this is a real farm. You can come visit, and there's something that makes us different than, who you would go to visit in the grocery store. So there's value that does come back on it. So for you guys, you have the farm store. Are you doing structured tours and workshops though, as well, to get people who want to go deeper into, learning about the soil health and really the difference that matters into the food nutrition of what you guys do as well?
Yes, they have a tour every Saturday that's scheduled. And you can schedule one anytime you want to by appointment. And then guests in the cabins get a tour. And how in depth the tour is kind of depends on what you want. A lot of people that come really just want to see some animals. Some of them really want to know about the production program. Some of them really want to see the processing. And I mean, there's a structure there, but it's pretty loose. And they will say, "What do you want to see?" Usually a small enough group that when 1,000 people scare us to death. If you said 5,000 people, we wouldn't know what to do with that. And we have schools here. We're about to start a very, very aggressive educational program. There are people doing a fantastic job understanding agriculture, Slavery Institute, HMI, and I can go on, doing a great job teaching regenerative land management. And that's great. That's great. That's the first step. It's an essential step. You can't go forward till you understand that. But after you understand, after you implement that, you can go broke implementing good regenerative land management if that's all you do. Consumers, you fellows know better than anybody I know. Consumers don't buy hogs and cows and sheep. They buy beef and pork and lamb. And if you can't find a way to make that conversion, you don't have to do it yourself like we do, like Greg Gunthorpe does, but you got to find a way to get it done so you can monetize it. You will go broke. Getting it to the people is something that y'all are experts on. Consumers don't consume where farmers farm. We got to get to those zip codes they're willing to pay the added cost to produce the premium product. And that's a whole skill set, something y'all have mastered that we're struggling, we're learning, but you got to do that. So that, I call it resilience, and I think it's got to be taught. And the time was, I'm gonna preach a minute here. I'm older than y'all, a good bit older than you. I'm probably older than your daddy. The time was when the land grant universities led agricultural innovation. I remember that. Now, my degree is University of Georgia, land grant university. And the Cooperative Extension Service delivered that information to the farmers. And that worked for many years. It was replaced probably in the 70s, more like the 80s, by big tech companies that did the innovation. They figured it out. And they hired young men and women, put them in nice pickup trucks and send them out to disseminate that information to the farmers, the chemical salesmen, seed salesmen. And that was highly effective and still is. But nobody is out there teaching resilient farming. There is nobody. We got to do it. And by we, I mean just Water Pasture. I mean us, me and you and Gabe and Greg and Spencer and the rest of the boys and girls. So we are starting a nonprofit called the Center for Agricultural Resilience, and it's going to. We have White Pastures has been teaching this for a while, but it cost us, I think it's $357 a day. We have quantified it. Have a person here to feed them, lodge them, and teach them. Take the time to teach them. And we can't do so much of that. We've probably already done a little too much. My accountant tells me we've done too much. So we are going to start this nonprofit for the purpose of family offices and high net worth individuals that want to see this kind of word spread to not give the money to us. We won't do that, but to pay the tuition for farmers, people who want to come to it. So many of the people that come to our training wind up being, and it's fine, I'm glad to train them, they wind up being environmental attorneys and city planners and staffers for congressional people on the ag committees. And I'm proud to have those people, but they can pay their own way. The people I want to get it to are the farmers that can't take $350 something a day and come to White Oak Pasture. We're going to have, currently we've got a very aggressive 3-month long hands-on internship program. This won't be that. That'll continue to have. This will be a 1 week, 30,000 foot, not how to farm resiliently in a resilient manner, but how to think about it. You know, everybody's biome is different. Everybody's market is different. Everybody's infrastructure situation is different. We can't teach you how to go back to Bismarck, North Dakota and do it, but we can teach you how to think about it.
Yep, principles that apply anywhere. So when do you guys plan to launch that program, Will?
Well, I guess the program's launched now. The first session's in August. I can't remember.
Okay, so anyone listening can get more information about that on your website.
Well, it's not on there yet. I gave you the sneak peek.
Here we go. You heard it here first.
Yep.
And you know, I would invite you two fellows to come, not to learn, but to teach. You know, you put your instructor's hat on.
We've been wanting to get back down there, Will, for a while. Blake and I reminisce about it often, so we would take you up on that invitation. So, Will, I think that we have a similar vision because what you guys are starting down there to teach, you know, that's something that not only you know, you can't get that from extension services. You're not going to get that in the university, and it's very rare to get it from someone who's actually doing it. Because we know how hard it is, how busy you can be, just doing it, let alone trying to carve off time to teach it. So, but that's commendable, and we're continuing to try to do that, especially on the, you know, the direct marketing side, as that itself is a huge gap and learning curve, you know, for farmers that are, you know, not only trying to change their agriculture practices, but then trying to adopt and use.
Yeah, well, it's a lot. You know, basically, the minute you go farm the fork, you're replacing how many different industries in the food chain, from production to processing to, you know, you're running a marketing and retail business. So the minute you start doing this, you're in 3 different industries running 3 different businesses, and that's difficult.
And absorbing their costs. Don't forget that. Their costs didn't go away. You just internalize them.
Yeah, exactly. So, Will, I know we had a couple questions from our Facebook group that wanted to ask about, you know, how the processing works for you guys there. Now, we don't do any processing on our farm. What was the you know, the decision factor for you guys to do your own processing there? Was it access, proximity? Because we're in a situation at Seven Sons where we're 3 hours away from our processor, but they're a processor that, you know, they accommodate everything that we could ever ask for, and they offer such a great value. You know, so one question I have in my mind, if we were just reminiscing with you, Will, is Seven Sons missing the boat on something? You know, we're obviously running a decent amount of volume at this point. Should we be looking at processing when we're incredibly happy with our existing processor?
Let me tell you what to do. You find out what all that processor, when his children's birthdays are. You send them something real nice every birthday. Processing is not something I ever wanted to be in. It's not a part of the business that I enjoy at all. I am blessed with having a young man who's like a son to me that runs it very autonomously. But to answer your questions, I was like you fellows. I was using outside processing capacity when I was first getting this business started, and I did that, and it was working for me in terms of I was growing the business. But before I got the volume high enough to be profitable, I exhausted their excess capacity. They just, it was, I'd call and say, I need to bring, he said, you can bring 6 head this week. I need to bring 12 head. I said, I'm sorry, but I can't handle the 6. I said, take 10. No, and we wound up at 7 or something. And at that level, I couldn't haul the animals over there, get the meat, haul it where I had to haul it, and come out. But I could tell I was going in the right direction, just my volume wasn't there yet. And I sensed that the volume was out there for me to get. So I explored every possibility I knew how to explore, and ultimately decided to pull the trigger and build my own, and did. And it has worked for us, and we couldn't do without it. I mean, and I do enjoy the control of having my own people slaughtering my own animals and being able to get it done just exactly like I want it done, when I want it done. That's a blessing, but it is not a part of the business I enjoy. It's capital intensive. It's highly regulated. I consider it risky. You know, one eco I recall and it's game over. You're dealing with a fresh product. There's a lot about the business I don't enjoy. But all that said, it was the only way I could have stayed in this business. I would have had to go back to being an industrial monocultural cattle person had I not done it.
So anybody that's listening that's saying, I wonder if I'm giving up a lot. I really like my processor. They're accommodating my volumes, everything I'm asking, they're accommodating. You're not recommending that just for a value proposition and a profit stream to go build a processor.
I guess everybody's got to do follow the path that's right for them. I would not, I did not want a processing business. It has been good to us. I mean, I'm glad we did it. We couldn't have moved forward with that. It wasn't a matter of we can make more money if we build our own process. It was a question of we can stay in business if we build our own process.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So if there's someone in a similar situation where they don't have a great processing arrangement and there's bottlenecks there, do you see in your experience of your guys' experience with processing and other folks that you've seen, is there a certain scale that a farm needs to be at in order to make the capital investments, worthwhile?
And we're talking USDA level.
Yep.
I think the best way for me to answer that is I built my plant in 2007. Yep, 2007. And at the time, we spent $2.2 million on it. And it was built to slaughter 50 head a week. That's what I thought I could produce for the plant. Me and my producer group, small local producer group. And when I got to 50, and so we did it. We came in at budget, 2.2 million. And we started slaughtering. We got 50 head a week. I was still hemorrhaging money. I couldn't cover my cost. We had accidentally over-engineered the building. I spent another $700,000 or $800,000 on it and got the capacity up to 100 head a week, which is what we're doing now. And at that point, it started working. The volume was adequate to service the cost. So there's a sweet spot, and I don't know how to tell you how to find it. I found it accidentally.
Yeah. There's definitely a scale you have to be at, whether it might be a little different for everybody, especially depending upon where they're marketing and the margins involved. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, I know another question that we were getting in our Facebook group from some clients and listeners that they would love to hear more about your experience on is you guys are obviously doing a lot. There's a lot of different enterprises there on the farm, very vertically integrated, and there's obviously a large team to make all that happen. How do you guys find, A+ people that are a good fit? I forget how many managers you said you had involved, but where do you find that help? What's your strategy for, finding people who are a success at White Oaks?
Yeah, so there's two contributors. I am fiercely proud of our people. They're great people. And I got 180 employees. I got a bottom end like everybody else. You got 2 employees, you got a bottom end. But I got great people. So one of the things I will tell you, you can't emulate, you don't want to emulate is, this is one of the poorest counties in one of the poorest states in the union. This is an economically impoverished area. So sadly, or happily, depends on perspective, we're able to offer as good a job as there is around here. I mean, I think working at White Oak Pasture is a pretty good gig, and apparently other people do too. Though we have a lot of people filling out applications. So that's one thing is we're just in an area where this is a good job. The other thing we've done is our intern program has delivered us some wonderful young managers. And I say young. We have an intern who's the same age as me. I'm 66, and he went through the intern program, and we hired him as a manager. Yeah. But most of them are young, and we bring in 6 interns 4 times a year, for 24 a year, and we probably get 20-something applications for every quarter. So we get 56 out of 20 something typically. Actually, got 7 this quarter, but 6 of them. And then these are, and we don't, so the way the intern program works is on our website, you can look at it. We charge them a certain amount of money, and it's on there, maybe $1,500 to be an intern. Then we pay them $8 an hour to work here, and some lodging, some discounts for food and stuff. But the point is, they don't come here for the money. They can come here, work 3 months, and it didn't cost them anything. They were able to pay their tuition, eat, sleep, learn, and be pretty much even with the world. So that's good because people don't come here for the money. They come here out of the passion for learning this kind of farming. And we typically will hire 3 or 4 of the 6 or 7 interns that come through here. And yeah, I think we hired, we've just gotten more aggressive with that. For a long time, we didn't hire as many, but I think we hired 4 out of this past crop. And these people won't stay here till they're 65 years old and get a gold watch. And that's fine. I graduated from college in 1976, and that's the era where the dream was go to work with a Fortune 500 company, work for them for 35 years, they pitching you out, and life was good. And that didn't work out for most people. And most people that graduated from college in 1976, that was the dream, but it didn't work that way. Mergers, acquisitions, whatever. So today, it's not that way. And most of the people that come here, very few of our interns are in college or just graduated from college. Most of them are in their 30s, late 20s, early 30s, maybe 40. Have had a job, had a career, decided they didn't want to work under fluorescent lights in a cubicle with an air conditioner and a heater. And they came here out of passion for this kind of life. And I love those kind of people.
Can you speak to the belief systems and passions have to be there as well. But can you also speak to, Will, 26 managers, we know, and anyone that's been in business knows, you just don't turn 26 managers loose and expect everything to be able to be coordinated in sync and all rowing in the same direction. Can you talk about kind of the high level management structure in your role and the role of your daughters and kind of the leadership there? How do you guys stay in sync? What's the management communication structure look like between you and your managers?
Good question. And it was a very difficult transition. I ran this business absolutely autonomously for decades. And when we started adding so many people, it was a flat management group. It was Will and everybody that worked for Will. We might have had 30 or 40 people, and I couldn't talk to 30 or 40 people. We started developing a little structure, and it evolved over a period of time. I won't go through all the renditions, we don't have time, but what it manifested itself in today, which I'm very happy, is 7 directors run the company. I mentioned that earlier. That is me, and my primary function is I borrow the money. I sign the notes at the bank. Jenny, one of my daughters, who I think y'all have communicated with, Brooke, I think you have, is director of marketing, and she's over at marketing. They always social media. She supervises the order fulfillment center, bunch of stuff. She got a bunch of people work. A bunch of those managers work for her. My other daughter, Jody, handles anything that's customer facing. RV park, store, cabins, restaurant. We got a restaurant serves 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. Tours, schools. She's probably got 30 or something people that work for her. Jody's husband, John, manages the farm, livestock, and I'm involved with that, but he's the director. Jenny's wife, Amber, manages value addition products, pet shoes, candles, soap, leather, a bunch of stuff that we add value to the product. 2 non-family members I love is Brian Sapp, who's director of processing, and he's got a master's degree in meat science from the University of Florida. He's great. He's a scientist. Jean Turn is our controller. She got a number of different graduate degrees, and she is an accountant. And and we meet in this courthouse, this still courthouse. We meet every Wednesday at 1:30, and there's an itinerary, old business, new business, and we go through it. Sometimes it's painful. It takes a long time, long meetings, but it's very, there's a lot of camaraderie. It's very collegiate. We give and take, almost always wind up agreeing on everything. You take me and Gene and Brian, you got a cowboy and a scientist and an accountant. So, when it's first thrown out there on the table, everybody might not see it exactly the same way. But by the time we get through slicing it and dicing it, it's just real good. I say this, when I said 26 managers, I meant it, but some managers don't manage people, and some do. But some manage systems. Some, you got every species, cows, hogs, poultry, has a manager. Every building's got a manager. Red meat plant, poultry plant, commissary, value addition, store, everything, restaurant, everybody got it. So that's where that comes from. And then they manage a number of people under them, whatever's necessary to get the job.
So you have so directors and then managers, 26 managers below those 7 directors. That makes
correct. And then there's that's correct. And then there's a production managers meeting. Some directors attend, others don't. There's a field managers meeting that some attend, some don't. There's a marketing meeting. It goes down from there. I think it's. I think we've got a very, I use the word again, a very collegiate group here. I know everybody's name that works here.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep. So tell us about, speaking of those Wednesday director meetings, give us a peek into some of the latest discussions and what you guys feel like is the future for White Oaks Pasture in the next 5 years or so. Any big ideas that are out there that are on your guys' radar?
Yeah. In fact, most of it, a big part of every meeting is tied up on what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. So I bet you can relate to this, but money is always the issue. You know, I've learned, I'm 66, I bet you I've learned 65 times in my life that there is money, management, and time. Before you start any project, you got to have all three. It's not best 2 out of 3. You got to have all 3. And the cowboy in our group really thinks it's, oh, hell yeah, we can do that. And the scientist wants to know more about it. And the accountant wants to know exactly what it's going to cost and then what it's really going to cost. And what are you not telling me? So most of a big part of our discussions are what we're going to do next. You know, I always want to buy another piece of land. That's my passion, is taking these degraded lands and regenerating them. I just love it. That's what I do, what I live for. Brian always needs another piece of equipment for his processing plants. There's, you know, all the managers have a wish list of things they need. We buy, I love clothes and loops. We buy our feed for our monogastrics. You know, we raise our ruminant feed, but we buy non-GMO feed for our pigs and poultry. And I want to have my own feed mill and either farm that grain myself or get it farmed. But money management time. We don't have a hatchery. We buy 1-day-old poults and chicks and keats and ducklings and goslings, and I want to build a hatchery with money management time. I would like to have, we got to do something about lodging. We don't have enough beds for the people that want to come here. And I got to do something about that in the short run. Money management time. And I can take you on through. There's a list. So I can see it, but I can't reach it. But things we want to do, and money management time. And I can get I can borrow money. I can't borrow management time.
Yep.
A lot of them like hire the management.
Yep.
But the bandwidth, you know,
That's
hard to come to.
we talk about that all the time. Is there's plenty of opportunities. Everyone thinks that cash and investment is a limiting factor. The first thing that we ever run out around here is management. It's always the first resource. It's the most limiting resource is management.
Let me bring that into focus for you, Blaine. You got 6 brothers. I'm an only child.
Yeah. And you know, we have you know, we feel like one of the reasons that we've been able to do what we do is you know, people ask us all the time, what's the unfair advantage? How are you guys doing this? And at the end of the day, we boil this down to human synergy at Seven Sons Farms. That human synergy is what's creating, and that collaboration it's amazing what can be done when a group of people, you talk about your 7 directors, you know, the synergy and the value of those folks all coming together, bringing their ideas, refining, you know, the business. One question I had for you, Will, is when do you guys say no to an opportunity? And when do you guys stop doing things? Because on the outside, it looks like it's just one more thing added onto what you're already doing. Do you guys ever stop doing things? You know, and every business has to. I know the answer is yes, but from the outside, it may not look like that.
But money is a limiting factor. I mean, money, it almost always, the yes or no decision after the long discussion gets down to, can we afford to do this? You know, everything we do here is highly capital intensive. Whether you're buying land or building buildings or implementing programs, just takes a lot of money, and it's low return, and it's got to be very patient capital. I tell you, but the gestation period of a cow is 283 days. I don't give a damn what you do, and technology hadn't improved that. So, you know, and I'm preaching the choir here with you guys, but you know, you breed the cow, 283 days, you get a calf. 2 years after that, you got a hamburger and a ribeye to sell. So very patient capital.
Exactly. Would you look at your business and say, because again, it's easy to look at anyone's business, and it can end up looking, really good from the outset. But I know at Seven Sons, even looking at our product selection, you have 20% of the product SKUs driving 80% of the revenue. You find that kind of holds true even across enterprises. Maybe 20% of your enterprises are driving 80% of revenue or profits, and you're really just being patient with capital on many of the other enterprises.
Probably, and we got, our controllers got great numbers. I just don't think of it the way you just said it. I mean, for me, it's so much. I mean, you talk about a factory farm. I think of this as an organism. I mean, everything is in it. It's contributing. There's synergy among the systems. It's like, for me to say which one of our businesses makes the greatest contribution, it's like, which one of your organs is most contributory? Is it your eyes or your liver or your lung? I don't know how to do that. It takes it all. And I find that the more loops I can tie together, the more cyclical versus linear I can make it, the healthier it all seems to be.
Yep. And I think that's a balance everyone is struggling with, because like you just said, Will, it's money that's limiting those new opportunities. And that's what everyone is balancing as they get into things, because you're doing what you're doing now, Will, but there's 26 managers, 7 directors, 180 staff, and I think that's an important distinction to think about. That's the diversity in those closed loops have come over time with some amazing people that have come over time as well.
When I was an arrogant young farm owner, I used to tell my employees, "There's not a damn thing on this farm I can't do better than any of you." And I could. Today, I often say, "There's not a damn thing on this farm somebody can't do better than I can." And I like it. I like it like that.
Yep. We echo that for sure.
Yep.
Brooks.
Well, this has been super insightful. We really appreciate you coming on to kind of give us a little bit of a pull back of the curtain and our listeners for what you guys do. This has been really helpful. Want to try to keep us on time here and wrap things up, because I know there's questions that Blaine and I could just keep going here for you.
I think we'd love to get down there, Will, if we could, and go through a few more of the questions and learn what we can. So
yeah, this has been super insightful.
Standing invitation for all selling.
Thank you, Will.
Yep. There we go.
Appreciate you being on. This has been a delight.